Be'ezrat Hashem Na'aseh V'Natzliach. I want to welcome you to another session of our Parashat HaShavua class at Sharone Lankry. I'd like to dedicate this class to the Ilui Nishmat of Henry Gordensky's father. Also for the Ilui Nishmat David Ben Zohara and Yaniv Ben Rinat. Also that this should be to the Refuah Shelema of Amram Ben Zohara and Miriam Bat Pesi Penina.
Ariel Ben Dorit.
Ariel Ben Dorit. And this should also be to the general success of Stacy Esther Bat Miriam and family, Yaakov and Abraham Sakal, and for Yaakov's children that are getting bar mitzvah this week, as well as to our special sponsor, Judah Mendel from Mendel Law, who's dedicating this class to his parents and on their 45th anniversary, 41st wedding anniversary, and the names are Tova Shindel and Moshe Meir Mendel. Hashem varech otam, sameach otam, and Be'ezrat Hashem also to all the people that are here in attendance. Hashem varech otam, sameach otam, for coming here, learning as we go into a very, very important topic that is, anytime you can make the Torah relevant, not that it needs to be relevant, but anytime you can make it relevant, it's a big win. Baal Tanya says,
now I know why I'm here.
There you go. Chayav Adam lichyot im hazman. We keep saying it. It's such a good line. We keep repeating it almost every lesson. But Chayav Adam lichyot im hazman. A person has to live with the times. And what he was referring to is you have to live with Parashat HaShavua. Because if you live with Parashat HaShavua, within Parashat HaShavua is all the messages, all the yeshuot, all the things that you need for your life. You just have to dig between the Pesukim and you'll get the message over there. So, anytime somebody puts that on the table, I want to make sure that it's 100% doable, right? Baal Tanya says, all the messages are there. So I stop right there and I say, okay, world, talk to me. What's going on in the world today? Well, we see that the world is spiraling out of control. The entire globe, anywhere you go, there's something going on. There's a deterioration of society. There's a decay of morals, a decay of values. There's no mutual respect anymore. There's no acceptance. Everything has been replaced by a cancel culture and separatism. And people are divided nowadays by religion, race, political preference, and even basic identity, gender. Something that was a completely black and white, is now a topic of discussion. And the big question is, what can I do? How can I make a difference in today's world? There's not one topic out there that you feel that you can even make a dent in it. There's not one thing that's going on right now that you could say that there's something that I could do that can make a difference. Certainly not. And a lot of the things that we're dealing with, globally, nationally, and locally, become even more amplified when you are a Jew, because as Jews we're also dealing with a lot of different questions. To make an aliyah, not to make an aliyah, to what's happening with our children, what's happening with our businesses, to buy a gun, not to buy a gun. Everybody has American questions, as they say, right? Well, if the answer is embedded in Parashat HaShavua, prove it to me. Prove to me that the answer to today's problem is in this week's Parashat HaShavua. And we're probably going to go through an entire lesson just to learn one word in this week's parasha, which is Ba'alotecha. Only at the end we'll learn one word. Everything is going to be an introduction just to learn that one word at the end of the class. In order to understand this one word, this one word, Ba'alotecha, we have to go back to last week's parasha, Naso. And we know that Parashat Naso, it was very heavily loaded with a lot of different topics. It talks about the responsibilities of the Kohanim, the counting of certain families, the details of the korbanot of theft, korbanot of Sotah, the korbanot of the Nazir. It deals with Birkat the Kohanim, and even more and more and more. We see that in the Parashat Nazir, from the beginning of the counting of the families of the Leviim, all the way to the end of the parasha, there's one running theme. There's one thing that connects every subject matter to the next, which is Kohanim. Every single part, it had the Kohanim connected to it. There's a famous Rashi in Perek Hey, Pasuk Yud Bet, that says, that the person needs to give matanot to the Kohen. Ish asher iten laKohen. Matanot, we know that there's tithing, there's parts of the korbanot that belong to the Kohen. There's some matnot kehuna, gifts that the Kohen gets. So if, let's say, a person decides to be cheap, I don't want to give the Kohen nothing. This guy is a leech of society. Every time I get a cow, he's got to get the zroa, the chayim, the me'ayim. I don't want to give him all that. Every time I bring a korban, he has to take a portion from here, portion from there. What happens if you don't want to give the Kohen the gifts that belong to him, or portions of the korbanot, like we're instructed to? Rashi says, on the Pasuk Yud Bet, Ish ki tiste ishto u'ma'alam bo ma'al. It says, Rashi, it says, what happens with a wayward woman when a person suspects his wife of being not being faithful, and he wants to take her now and exercise the process of Isha Sotah, which we know the process of Isha Sotah, that he brings her over there. She has to drink these bitter waters that involve the writing of God's name, the erasing of God's name, and there's a dual result that can come out of it. If she's innocent, she gets a baby boy, but if she's guilty, she drops to the floor, she blows up, her stomach blows up, and that's her end right there. So, in the pasuk that discusses the Sotah, what does it say over there? If you're that guy that doesn't want to give your gifts to the Kohen, eventually that's going to cause you to come and bring your wife to check her for the Sotah process. Meaning, one way or the other, you're going to meet the Kohen. Either you come and you give him the tzedakot. If you don't come and give him the tzedakot or the matanot kehuna, eventually you're going to meet the Kohen where you're going to have to check your wife, and eventually maybe you might need a Kohen for Shlom Bayit, because we need that. Right after that, we have the description of the Kohanim, of the Birkat Kohanim, how they're instructed to bless the Jewish people with love. And we know that Aaron, a Kohen, Ohev Shalom, Odev Shalom, the essence of the first Kohen, which trickled down to every Kohen after that, is they loved peace, they chased peace, they brought peace amongst the Jewish people, they brought Shlom Bayit between husband and wife. So we see over here that the running theme between all of them is the Kohen. Furthermore, every time something, subject matter is juxtaposed to another one, you ask the famous question, why are they connected? And if you pay attention to the Parashat Nazir, it starts off with Sotah, the wayward woman. It continues to the subject of Nazir, which is the person who refrains from eating grapes and drinking wine and cutting his hair, and letamela metim as well, doesn't become contaminated by the dead. And then the next subject matter is Birkat Kohanim. Why is the Sotah, Nazir, and Birkat Kohanim juxtaposed to one another? What is the connection from one thing to the next? Now, we spoke about the Sotah and what brings her to Bet HaMikdash. Her husband suspecting her of being unfaithful. What is the Nazir? Just to have a little broad stroke of understanding what the Nazir is. Well, let's imagine it as a scenario. Let's imagine we are right now in Bet HaMikdash. And you're walking in, and all of a sudden you happen to see in Bet HaMikdash a woman being tested by the Mayim Merarim, the bitter waters that she's being tested. The bitter waters. And the Torah tells us that when a person happens to see a woman that's being tested for being a Sotah, what does he have to do? He has to turn into a Nazir. He has to become a Nazirite. And all the things that include from being a Nazirite is what? To refrain from cutting his hair, to refrain from wine and grapes, and not to get contaminated from a corpse. Lo yitameh. Why? I just walked in. I'm in Bet HaMikdash. I'm doing my own thing. Just because I happen to see a Sotah woman being checked, I have to become a Nazir now for 30 days? So, let's start there. Imre Noam, Rabbi Yoram Michael Abedjez, Tzadik Livracha, brings in his book a couple of beautiful points about this exact lesson. It says, the Gemara says in Masechet Sotah, the second page on the first side, and I think that's what you meant to say. It says, Lama nismecha parashat Nazir parashat Sotah. They ask our question: why is Sotah juxtaposed to Nazir? Chazal answer, Lomar lecha shekol haroeh Sotah bekilkula yazir atzmo min hayayin. To teach us that any person that sees a wayward woman, a Sotah, he needs to refrain himself from drinking wine. And Rashi on that says, "Lomar lecha shekol haroeh Sotah bekilkula yazir atzmo min hayayin shehu mevi leidei niyuk." He says, you know why you have to refrain from wine? Because wine brings you to promiscuity. Wine brings you to this situation. Anybody who drinks wine, eventually it leads them to arayot. It leads them to improper relationships. Now, the Baal Shem Tov chimes in on this. The Baal Shem Tov says, on his explanation on Pirkei Avot, on the fourth perek, on the first Mishnah, he says over there, Ezeu Chacham Halomed Mikol Adam. He says that in Pirkei Avot it says, who's wise? One that learns from every single person. Right? He begins to elaborate and say, just like a person, when he looks in the mirror and he sees that something is out of place, right? The jacket is crooked. The tie is off to the side. Maybe he's a little bit dirty. Maybe his hair is disheveled. Just like when he looks in the mirror, he fixes himself. Kach mamash, like this exactly. Anybody who looks at the world and see what the world is lacking, what he sees lacking in the world is really what he's lacking himself. Because the world, the zulat, is a mirror. The world is a mirror to the individual. It's from the heavens that he had to witness what he's witnessing, what he's looking at. And from the heavens, they're telling him, what you're seeing lacking in the world is exactly what's lacking in you. And now that you see this, you've recognized in the world that there's something lacking and missing. It's up to you now, letaken. It's up to you to rectify. Just to simplify it, the Baal Shem Tov says, anything that you see in the world that is lacking is a custom-made message for you from God to let you know that that's what's lacking in you and that's what you have to fix. The Baal Shem Tov's student, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef Mipulna, says in his book, Toldot Yaakov Yosef, that he learns this from a pasuk. In Shir HaShirim, It says, "Im lo tid'i לך היפה באנשים צאי לך בעקבי הצאן." For those of you that do Shir Shirim on Friday, it says, what is that? "Im lo tid'i לך היפה באנשים." If you don't know this, the most beautiful woman in the world, the most beautiful woman amongst all women, who is that? The nation of Israel. צאי לך בעקבי הצאן. Go out and follow the herd. And how does he explain this pasuk in Shir Shirim? He says, if it's not clear to you what spiritual level you're on, if you don't know where you are spiritually, go take a look at the Jewish people. And when you start to look at the Jewish people, he'll know exactly, like a litmus test, what his spiritual status is. Im tzaddiku, im lav, if he's a tzaddik or if he's not. And by looking at the Jewish people, he'll also, it'll be clear to him what he needs to rectify. And this is why, if we go back now to what Rashi said, what the Gemara said, Masechet Sotah said, Shekol haro'eh Sotah b'kilkula, yazir atzmo min hayayin. Any person that sees a woman being tested for the Sotah in Bet HaMikdash, he has to refrain from wine. Why? Well, this explains it. The Shammai made it that you had to see a woman that is being tested for her unfaithfulness. Unfaithfulness, this type of promiscuity comes from drinking wine, and because you're seeing it, it's your lesson for you to stop drinking wine. Interesting. It says, Dafka la'adam asher lo zimna hashgacha elona lirot et bat Yisrael. Specifically, it's not by chance. It's not like, oh, I stumbled upon it, I'm looking, oh, look, there's a Sotah to the right of me. It's not by chance. It was custom made specifically, dafka, specifically for that person, for him to see that situation, to see the woman being embarrassed in Bet HaMikdash and being checked for a Sotah. And this is crystal clear that from the Shamayim, he is connected to this. He is connected to this situation because he himself is lacking. Vasotah shara ena en lo kemar'ah. The Sotah is his mirror. You think there's something wrong with her? There's something wrong with you. And by doing that, chova la'azir et atzmo min hayayin kedei la'akor et hapgam. And the reason why he has to refrain himself from wine, because he has to uproot, extract this bad character trait that he has of drinking wine, or this habit that he has to drinking wine. That right now it's been revealed to him from the Shamayim that he is not only needs to stop drinking wine, but he has to refrain from ni'uf. Ni'uf, which is what? Improper relationship, promiscuity. And that's why he has to drink wine, to refrain from drinking wine, and nobody else around him, because that message was custom made for him. Furthermore, you see that the Baal Shem Tov is telling us, pick up your spiritual antenna. Don't go into the world and see a car accident, oh, it's just a car accident. You see a couple getting divorced, they're just getting divorced. You see somebody being successful in business, oh, he's just successful in business. You have to understand that every single image, event that Hashem makes it that comes through your eyes and through these ears is a lesson. It's a lesson for you. If you have like I said, imagine you're looking at a car accident, or there's a chance encounter, or you see people fighting, or you see a celebration. I'll give you an example. Mamash Mishamayim. My wife was driving 3 days ago, and while we're on the phone, she's telling me, "Oh my God, there's a person in front of me, and his tires shredded, and he's swerving all over." I go to this is Mishamayim. Remember we spoke about this one time, the Baal Shem Tov story, that he says that everything that a person sees is a message from Shamayim. We have to check the tires. When she comes home, I go to check the tires. Our tires bald, completely bald. I got to, you see, a sign from Shamayim to what? Either change the tires or get a brand new car. Nowadays, used to be easy. You go to a dealership, you get a car. Nowadays, you can't just get a car. So you might have to just change the tires. But there it is, a real life event. She sees that, goes, oh, some guy on the highway, his tires are. No. Hashem is sending you a message about your tires. That's a Baal Shem Tov lesson, live and alive, right there. I want to continue on this because there's going to be 3 parts. There's going to be the Baal Shem Tov, then there's going to be the Zohar, and then we're going to tie it together to our lives today. It's very, very, very interesting where he took it over here. You see that in Masechet Sotah, there is a specific description about the Sotah. Shekol ha'arei Sotah bekilkula. That anybody who sees Sotah bekilkula, meaning kilkul means something that is ruined, something that is no good. Why is it that as soon as the person saw her, he right away judged her negatively that she's mekulkelet? How does he know that she's mekulkelet? Maybe she's not. Kol ha'arei Sotah, stop. Right? That should have been there. Whether she's mekulkelet or innocent, right? Whether she's sinned or she's innocent, we don't know that. Why did the Gemara say Shekol ha'arei Sotah b'kilkula yazir atzmo min hayayin? He should take away the refrain from drinking wine. They should have just said ha'arei Sotah and stop it right there. So he brings here a very interesting point, that when a person sees the Isha Sotah, he has to think about her. Why is a woman that sinned? Why right away, when you see her right there in front of the Kiyov, drinking the waters with her husband, with the Kohen, why right away you judge her that she sinned, and that she made a mistake, and that she's now tainted, or dirty, or a sinner? And not only that, and now he hates her. Anytime you see a woman like that, vile, disgusting, it's like repulsive. Isha Sotah, right? Ela Hadraba. You see a woman like that, you say, wow, different outlook. She didn't do nothing. She's a good woman. She's going to drink the water. She's going to have a ben zachar. Why b'kilkula? You could have taken a completely different approach. You have to see that moment. He could have done the classic call to action that our rabbis always ask us to do. When you look at something and you don't know what's going on, what are you supposed to do? Kav zchut. Kav zchut. Right? Benefit of the doubt. Right away you're decreeing that she's in kilkula. Where's the kav zchut on that woman? And not only that, if you judged her favorably, maybe that would wake up mercy from the heavens, and then she would be able to be judged favorably as well. But why is the ha'arei Sotah b'kilkula daika? Because once again, what does he see? She's a mirror. He sees her b'kilkula because he's mekulkal. There's something wrong with him. החיסרון שיש בו הוא רואה. ועל כן דווקא הוא חז"ל שיזיר עצמו מן היין עד שיתקן את הפגם והחיסרון שהתגלה בנפשו. Because what's happening over here, it's when it says b'kilkula, is because that's exactly what's happening. Even though they should have done a kav zchut, but what's being exposed over here is his wrong ways, what he's lacking, what he needs to do. She's his mirror. There's another famous Baal Shem Tov story. By the way, Baal Shem Tov stories are very good for Motzei Shabbat. Segula leparnasa. So anytime you can hear good Baal Shem Tov stories, put them in your pocket, arsenal, Motzei Shabbat, you say the story. It's good stories for to start the week for parnasa. And it says over there you should, it's a tried and tested segula, and you should try it. There's a story of a very old man, well into his 70s, that comes to the Baal Shem Tov for a blessing. He says, Baal Shem Tov, please, give me a bracha. He says, I'm over 70 years old and I still have to work every day. Hard work, physical work. Not only that, My daughter was in a terrible marriage. She had to leave him. She's now living with me. I have to take care of her. I have to take care of her children. And they're running around the house and there's all this noise. Please, please, give me a bracha. The Baal Shem Tov tells him, Bekarov tirei yeshurot. Soon you will see salvations. A few weeks later, the Baal Shem Tov students were always very, very curious about the ways of the rabbi. They always wanted to know about, what did the rabbi say? Let's follow up. Let's see what happened. So they got to speaking to one another and said, hey, remember a few weeks ago we had that old man over here and the rabbi told them, soon you'll see a short. Let's go see if the rabbi was right. If he really is going to see any sort of salvations. They ask around town, they find where he lives, they go to his front door, they knock on the door and all of a sudden the old man opens up and there he is with a huge smile. So they tell him, are you the gentleman that came and asked the Baal Shem Tov for a bracha and he told you soon you'll see Yeshuot, soon you'll see salvation? He said, yes. So he asked him, so we see you're very happy, very different from where you were a few weeks ago. What changed? He tells him, nothing changed. I mean, so last week you were complaining about work and your daughter and your grandchildren. What changed? Did something change? He says, no, nothing changed. So why are you so happy? He says, because I'm over 70 years old and I still have power to do physical work. My daughter was in a terrible, terrible marriage. Now she's freed. She left that man and now she's staying with me. I used to see those grandchildren once in the blue moon. Now look at them. They're right here. They're next to me. They're running around. Laughter's in my house. What changed? Nothing changed. What changed is the way that he looks at things, the way he processes it. He put on the Torah lenses on. Hakol Tova. It's all for the best. It was the same exact life. He just processed it a better way, in a different way. Same thing with the what we had over here. The Nazir processed her b'kilkula, and we know it's by design. But there's a way to judge people favorably. And who are the masters of judging people favorably? Who are the ones that were increasing that Ahavat Yisrael amongst the Jewish people? The Kohanim. Ohev Shalom, Rodef Shalom, Aaron HaKohen. We know that. And that's what we see, that right after the parasha of the Nazir, it goes into Birkat Kohanim. Why? Because Aaron HaKohen, he is Baal Lev Tov V'ayin Tova. Aaron HaKohen, the first Kohen to ever be, all the Kohanim to ever come after him, he is the essence. He's the DNA of every Kohen comes from him. And what is Aaron famously known for? Lev Tov V'ayin Tova. That he used to love every single person of Am Yisrael. Just like Pirkei Avot, Chazal tells the Pirkei Avot, that Aaron was Ohev Shalom, V'rodef Shalom, Ohev et HaBeriot, U'mkarvan HaTorah.
It's Hillel.
Huh?
Hillel.
Hillel says it. Aaron HaKohen מעולם לא חיפש חסרונות באנשים. Aaron HaKohen never looked for what people were lacking in their life. He always looked for what's good, and he always looked to connect people, and he always looked to make peace between people. באשר הוא, היה יפה בעיניו. Any way that a person was, he accepted it for what it was. He loved every Jew for what he was. He didn't try to change them. He just tried to make them get along and be peaceful with one another. And we see over here a beautiful connection. A beautiful connection. That we have over here the Sotah that's connected to the Nazir, they're connected to Birkat Kohanim. Why? Because the Sotah is the wayward woman. The Nazir, she is the mirror to what the Nazir needs, and he judged her negatively. Why? Because he judged her kilkula, and we see that the right way to do it is what? The way that Aaron HaKohen does it, which is what? To always judge people favorably. Beautiful little connection of why those three things are connected. I'd like to take the exact same characters now, Sotah, Nazir, and Kohen, and look at it through the lens of the Zohar. The Zohar has a completely different angle on this whole story. The Zohar brings that the whole scenario with Adam HaRishon, I'm sorry, not with Adam HaRishon, with the Sotah and the Nazir is connected to Adam HaRishon, Chet Adam HaRishon. And you should know that almost everything that's going on in the world, we could always tie it back into the original sin. The Zohar says that Adam HaRishon, when he first sinned, Pagam B'Tselem Elokim. We know Tselem Elokim is the image of God, that Adam HaRishon was created in the image of God. B'Tselem Elokim Nivra, which basically means he was a very unique individual. The way that he looked, the way that he was created, even the angels, when they first looked at him, they thought he was a God. But when he sinned by eating the grapes, drinking the wine, Etz Hadat Tov Vara, that they were prohibited to eat, Chazal tell us that that tree was 4 different things. One opinion is that it was grapes, and she took the grapes and she squeezed it and turned it into wine. One opinion is that it was etrogim, and another opinion is that it was te'anim, figs, and mandama, chita, and there's also an additional opinion that it was wheat. And you might think that, how does wheat grow on a tree, and how can a tree have 4 different ones? Is it 4 different trees of the same tree? Maybe it's one fruit that tastes like all of them, but who knows, there's so many different opinions. But Chazal, throughout Chazal, each one always draw from these 4 different options of what Etz Hadat Tovara was. So Leman De'ama, to the opinion that it was Anavi, is the one that we're going to use today, that it was grapes. And we know that she ate from the grapes, so she squeezed the grapes and turned it into wine and gave it to Adam HaRishon. As soon as he sinned with that, Tselem Elokim left him. That status of the image of God was no longer his. And we see that the Zohar compares the Sotah and the Nazir to Adam and Chava. And the Nazir comes letaken the tikkun of Adam HaRishon in order to lachzir Tselem Elokim, in order to rectify, to bring back the Tselem Elokim. What's the connection? What's the connection? So we're going to go into the parasha and the hints to it. So there are 4 ways that a person can derive drashot from the Torah. It's called tanta. You know what's tanta? Tanta is short for ta'amim, nekudot, tagim, otiyot. Ta'amim, that's the trope, that's the musical notes. You can make drashot, you can actually you can understand the text through the musical text, through the musical notes. You can understand hidden secrets of the Torah from nekudot, from the dots, but more like the way that we vowelize. No. Pronunciation, right? Next one is tagim. Tagim, there's certain letters that have special additional lines to it. And then otiyot, the letters themselves. From the letters we can derive additional understanding of the Torah. So tanta stands for ta'amim, nekudot, tagim, and otiyot. So here is something interesting. If you take a look at Perek Hey, Pasuk Yud Gimel, and it talks about the Sotah, it says V'shachav ish otah, right? Her, who the Sotah. On top of the word otah, there is a ta'am, a trope called zarka. You know what zarka? It looks like a snake. It's like an S that's laying down. If you ever noticed it, it's like an S that's laying down. It looks like a squiggly snake. On top of the word isha, on top of the word Sotah, you have a zarka. If you go to Perek Vav, Pasuk Chaf Aleph, after it details all the steps of how to become a Nazir, how to rectify a Nazir, it says over there, Zot Torat HaNazir. And if you take, if you see the word HaNazir, on top of it, there's a zarka. Also, the same musical note that looks like a snake. So we have with the Isha Sotah the Zarka over there, and we have with the Nazir the Zarka over there. In other words, what? There's a Nachash that's connected to both of them. How is the Nachash connected to both of them?
Adam and Isha.
Huh? Correct.
Adam v'chava.
Exactly. This is what the Zohar. I brought this to strengthen what the Zohar says. How did the snake is the Samech Mem, right? That's his name. The snake, the Nachash, is also the Samech Mem. Samech Mem, by the way, is short for his full name. His full name is his angelic name. What's his angelic name? Well, we know every angel ends in Aleph Lamed, like Raphael, right? Michael, Gabriel. Aleph Lamed is the end of every angel's name, or most of them. So his name is Samech Mem, and then you add the Aleph Lamed. So we don't like to say it out loud, but it's Samech Mem and Aleph Lamed. So how did he make Adam and Chava sin? How did the Samech Mem make the Adam Rishon sin? By eating the grapes. Eating the grapes. Grapes in Hebrew is called the anavim. So when the Nazir is now instructed to stop eating anavim, he said, why? What happened before that I have to eat anavim? He says, what happened before? Take the word anavim and take one letter before. What's the letter before ayin? Samech. Before nun, mem. Before bet, aleph. Before mem, lamed. What does it spell out? The letters that come before anavim is samech mem and aleph and lamed. The name of the samech mem. In other words, what? How did we get to this story that we can't eat anavim? Because what the samech mem did to us before. What the samech mem did to us in Gan Eden, he tricked us with anavim. So what do we have over here? Let's live out this scenario again. Every single person has the responsibility of tikkun Adam Rishon. Every single Jew has his portion in fixing the original sin of Adam Rishon. So I am Adam, and I go into Bet HaMikdash, and I see Chava, I see the woman over there. She also has the responsibility to fix for Chava. And I look at her, and I'm saying, Chava, what are you doing? You're about to drink the bitter waters? Why? Are you drinking wine again? Are you drinking wine again? What does he have to do? He says, I have to refrain from eating grapes. I have to refrain from drinking wine. Why? Because not only that, another point, another beautiful point. If you go to Perek Hey, Pasuk Tedvav, it says what is the offering that the Sotah woman has to bring? Asirit efa kemach seorim. What's kemach seorim? Barley. Barley is the food of animals. Wheat is the food of man. He says, look, they're treating you like a behemah. Even your offering is of barley. Your offering is not even chitav of an adam. You are now transgressing. You're going down in a level again. So what we have over here? The man, the adam, me. I'm taking a look at Chava, the woman there, and I'm telling her, you're acting like a behemah. You're not fixing Tzelem Elokim. We already ruined it in the beginning of time. It's our job to constantly rectify. So what does he do? He refrains from grapes. Why? Chava overindulged and ate grapes and sinned. What does the man have to do? He has to refrain from grapes. He says, you took too much, now I have to fix. How do I fix? I take little, I take less. Why? Because Adam is the man is looking to make the balance, to make the tikkun. And by the way, even though that we're using the Nazir and the Sotah as an example of a tikkun, but that is our purpose in this world, the Jewish people. We're here to fix the world. We're here to do a tikkun olam. HaKadosh Baruch Hu let the whole world be the way that they are, with 7 rules, and then He gave us 613 ways, 613 tools on how to fix the world. We are the handyman of the world. I keep saying it over and over again, because that's what it is. Once you understand your purpose, that you are here to fix the world, then you understand what you're waking up for in the morning. To open up any Sephardic Siddur. What is Hashem Yichud Kudsha B'Chush Niteh? Letaken et mitzvah zo mishoresh. Oh, we're fixing this mitzvah and fixing that mitzvah. Everything that we do is letaken. And that's that Nazir that was in the Bet HaMikdash that sees the Sotah in Bet HaMikdash. He says, you ruined. It's my job to fix. You took grapes. I'm going to refrain from grapes. Why? We need the balance. We need a tikkun. Who's going to make the tikkun if not me? It's my responsibility. If I saw, it's my responsibility to fix. Beautiful point from the Zohar. However, you always have to ask the big question. What does that have to do with me today? If there's one thing, the three things that are completely not part of my reality, completely, if I had to pick, the top three things that are not connected to my life in my reality, I would say a Sotah, I would say a Nazir, and a Cohen. What do they have to do with my life today? 2022, right? Tafshin Pei Bet. Show me how Sotah is relevant in my life. Show me how a Nazir is relevant in my life. Once again, a person can actually read the Torah and say, this is desert Torah. This is only for the people from thousands of years ago, not connected to me. Skip, this is something that I can opt out. But we know that every single in the Torah is indispensable. There's not one thing that is never relevant. It's 100% relevant right now, today. How? Like the Baal Tanya said, Chayav Adam Lichyot Im Hazman. A person has to live with the time. The Sotah, the Nazir, and the Cohen gave us the formula for today's world. They gave us the formula for today's world. So we said society is deteriorating. There's a moral decay. There's lowered values. There's normalization of non-Torah values. Things that the Torah says no is the norm right now. There's a lack of respect and education across the board. Anywhere you go, from the highly educated with college diplomas or to the people in the street, everybody's acting without derech eretz. Derech eretz is out the window in the past 10 years. And if you don't see my way, then you're the problem, you're the enemy, the cancel culture. Nobody's accepting of one another. Everything changed. Everything is wrong. So everything that's wrong with society, that's the Sotah. Everything that is wrong with the world, that's the Sotah. And you are the Nazir. Meaning what? You have to see all that's wrong in the world, all that's wrong around you, and you have to make it right. That's your job as a Jew. You know, you could open up the newspaper and say, oh, the world is like this, and the world is like that, and people like this, and people like that, and close it, complain about it, and it's over, right? You wash your hands clean, you gave your 2 cents about it, and you're done. Maybe 99.99% of the world can do that, but as a Jew, you don't have that option. You got hired, you got sent into this world with a purpose to fix it. When you see something like that, it's up to you to fix it. How? How can I fix this global problem of what's going on in the world today? So just like the Baal Shem Tov said, everything is a message. Everything is a message. You see lies in the world. Sheker is rampant. Fake news. Add emet. Add emet to the world. Moshe emet, v'torato emet. There's nothing more true than the Torah. So when you see out there and say, oh, look at these politicians, they're liars. And look at this guy's a liar. Look at the guy in the store that I went to, he's a liar. He is this, and that. That's a personalized message to you. What do? You go home and you say, listen, I experienced and saw a lot of lies in the world today. I'm opening up the book that's Emet and I'm reading for 5 minutes. Hashem, I am fixing the world. I am adding Emet. I saw Sheker. You let me see Sheker. I'm going to add Emet. I'm going to combat Sheker with Emet. There's no other Emet than the Torah. You see that there is the normalization of promiscuity, improper relations, all the different things that are being pushed right now in the world, all this, things that are completely against what the Torah says, and what Hashem already destroyed the world because of it. And the reason why the world is not being destroyed right now is because He's keeping His promise, because He's Emet. Hashem's signet ring is Emet. So what do you do when you've witnessed all that? When it's on the news, when it's in the newspaper, when it's all around you? When you see all that, you increase Taharat Mishpacha. Hashem, I see that everybody's doing it the wrong way. I'm doing it for you the right way. Just like the Torah says, Yemet Tahara, the times and the place and the way to do it, and the touching and the not touching and the covering and the not covering. Whatever it is, Hashem, I see that the world is going the right direction. I'm doing my share of tikkun, Taharat Mishpacha. We see all the lawlessness that's going around the world. Everybody's just, the thievery, the lying, the cheating, on every level, whether it's in the street or in the office or in the government or anywhere you go, you just see there's a lack of order in the world. There's a lawlessness in the world. What do? You go and you study Shulchan Aruch. Why? Over there's halachot. What's halachot? Strengthening the laws of Hashem in our daily lives. When everybody's becoming lawless, what am I doing? I'm learning what are the laws of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and sticking to it. What is the halakha? Well, how do I keep Shabbat? How do I do the blessings? How do I carry myself? That's how you combat what's out there in the world as a Jew. That's how you do your part. That's how you do your tikkun. You see division, racism, intolerance, hate, everywhere you go. And we see it rampant in Israel. Jews that are divided to the core. What do? You add love. Just like the Cohen. You add love. Where? In your home, with your children, with your family. You add love in the synagogue, in the community. Anywhere that you can do, you add unity. How? How do you fix the world? You look at the message that God sent to you, and you come back and say, I'm fixing it. Imagine that when you see a problem that is so huge and beyond you, you've just become relevant in the world. You've become part of the solution. And it's as simple as just picking up that spiritual antenna that Hashem says, what message did you send me today? I saw all this lies, let me give you emet. I saw all this lawlessness, let me give you halakha. I saw all this division, let me give you unity. The Nazir saw that she took too much wine, he took away from himself wine. He balanced it. That's the formula. There's no better formula of the Sotah, the Nazir, the Cohen for what we need to do today. It's the most relevant lesson. It's teaching us actually how to live. Nowadays, when you see something wrong, you see an old lady getting robbed in the middle of the street. How wrong is that, right? How about an innocent person getting hit in the middle of the street? So you see so many videos of that in New York City and different places. What do people do today? I'll tell you, about 20 years ago, people would get involved. People would actually want to right the wrong. They'll stand up for that old lady. They'll stand up for that person that's getting hit. You know what they do today? They take out the phone and they film it. 20 people will film an old lady being robbed. Not one will help. 50 people will film a fight and they won't step in and stop it. What do you do when you see a fight? What do you do when you see somebody getting robbed? You do tzedakah. You do a mitzvah. Hashem, I saw that. I'm going to rectify it. I'm going to help. It was a message for me anyways. Which explains now the one word of this week's parasha, ve'alotecha. What's ve'alotecha? Ve'alotecha is when you elevate. When you are able to take something and take it up. After learning the lesson of the Sotah, Nazir, and the Cohen, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, now, ve'alotecha, upgrade the world. Don't be a spectator. Don't watch it on your screen. Don't just sit back. Don't just complain about it. Elevate the world. Do your part. That is the reason why I put you into this world. If the Jews, who are the handyman of the world, are not doing their job, then everything stays broken. Everything stays broken. We always depend on Chabad, and we depend on all the babot in the world, all the super holy rabbis that they're doing what they're doing. Yes, of course, we have superstars in the world that are doing what they're supposed to do, but that doesn't exempt you. What about you? What's your daily tikkun? What are you doing? How much can you be a standby of just watching the world in front of you? When are you going to take your job into your own hands and say, Hashem, I was hired too, so I forgot I got hired. I forgot I also have a job. Hashem didn't give the job to just a select few. He gave it to every single Jew. It's our job to elevate the world. And it's as simple as just having that spiritual antenna, understanding that whatever Hashem puts through these eyes is a message for me. And how do I fix it? Even if it's on the other side of the planet, I add the complete opposite. The Sotah drank too much wine, the Nazir refrained from wine. That's the formula. And by refraining, you're able to do tikkun. What is the tikkun? Of Sharone the Cohen, of how they brought everybody together. If you ever want to know what is the most important piece of the parasha, go to the Haftarah. If you ever want to say, when a parasha is fully loaded with so many different things, and then you have the Haftarah tells you, out of all the things we just spoke about, you know what's the most important thing? And that's the subject matter of the Haftarah. So in last week's parasha, Naso, what do you think was the most important one? We read about Shimshon. Shimshon was a Nazir. So the most important thing was the Nazir. It says, in regards to the Nazir, a lesson for today: someone who witnesses immorality should seek to come closer to God. Anybody that sees something that is wrong with the world, Hashem is telling you, you need to get closer to me. I'm showing you this, is that if you go unchecked, if you don't start to do your work, you'll be that. You have the potential to be that. You have the potential to go in that direction and become the worst version of yourself. I am showing you immorality so you can come closer to me. It's like when we tell our children, don't do that, it's dangerous, do this. Hashem is talking to you the exact same way, not with words, with images. Pick up the antenna, tomorrow, this second, step outside and say, okay, now, Hashem is about to give me a clue. It's like charades, you know? It's going to be an image, it's going to be a sound, it's going to be a tidbit, it's going to be a class, it's going to be a text, it's going to be something. Hashem is talking to me. Am I going to pick it up and I'm going to understand the message? And then, am I going to do something about it? Is the Sotah, Nazir, and Cohen relevant in our days today? The answer is absolutely yes. Why? Because it's our formula to wake up to our real role as Jews in this world. Bezat Hashem, that we activate this formula and we elevate this world and be able to really step into our role. Because sometimes we just don't know what it is. We don't know what we need to do. That's why everybody's always, at the age of 17, 18, 19, 20, I'm looking for myself. I'm going to travel. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to do this. As Jews, we already know who we are from birth. From birth, we know who we are. You just have to align yourself with the book, and everything here is going to take you to where you need to be, your true purpose. The only thing is that lately, there's a lot of people that have become spectators. They watch the world. And Hashem didn't create the world for you to sit at home and watch the world on your screen. Hashem created the world so you can partake in it. As a matter of fact, the Gemara tells us that a person is allowed to say that the whole world got created for who? For me. Could you imagine the universe, the stars, the planets, the oceans, everything that's in it, the trees, the waterfalls, all the different continents, all the technology that's here today, the cars, the medicine, everything that's in the world got created for me. How special do you feel right now? And Chazal tells us you can absolutely think that and believe that. This is your world. You're not in somebody else's world. You are in your world. And Hashem gave it to you. Hashem gave it to all of us. That we can believe that it's our world and we can share this world. We can't let this world be sabotaged and taken over. And how is it? It's as simple as you just staying in your home and still staying comfortable and still fixing the world. How? Add emet, add chesed, add tzedakot. Every time you see something negative, turn it into a positive yourself. And all of a sudden, you're talking to God. Thank you for the message you sent me. Here's my reply. Here's the message you sent me. Here's my reply. Here's the message you sent me. Here's my reply. The one thing that I can't stand is when you send text messages and people don't answer. You know, this is like a common thing nowadays. If they don't have a good answer, they ghost you. They just don't answer. I can't stand that. Even if it's a good answer or a bad answer, just answer. Right? Imagine God. He's sending you message after message after message after message. No answer, no answer. Being ignored, being ignored, being ignored, being ignored. It's one of the worst things to ignore someone, let alone God. Now, take the message and answer it. שהשם יברך אתכם, שמח אתכם, ובעזרת השם שנצליח בכל מעשה ידינו.